You know that situation when you're given a small task to do that you feel is so trivial that it probably won't hurt anyone if you're just going to say, I'll do it tomorrow. But then tomorrow comes and you don't really feel like doing it just yet, so you decide to just, delay it by yet another day. But then the next day comes and you delay it yet again. And then yet again, and then again, and then again, until eventually this, what previously, initially, used to be a small, trivial thing to do, becomes such an avalanche of a problem that you're just completely doomed. That's the kind of a thing that happened to me a couple of weeks back, and I actually had to dedicate all of my time to just work on my school stuff, so I wouldn't say that I won't fail. I'm doing actually pretty decently at school, but I still do not want to have bad grades, so I had to dedicate all of my time to fix all of my problems. So yeah, I wasn't really able to work on my videos. Sorry about that, but that doesn't matter because I'm finally back. I'm back to making videos again, and I hopefully will be able to pick up my previous pace yet again within a short while, and make one video every other way. What? Every other day. Either way, today we're gonna be watching HK reporter Aya playing in his or hers, I want to say UK UDES 1516. And actually, Aya is playing on a on a test server. She's actually not playing on the regular server because if I'm correct, the UDES 1516 wasn't actually added to game yet. It's gonna be added in a couple of patches, maybe in the next patch. I don't know when it is gonna be added to the game. All I can say is that this tank is looking beautiful. Alright, I know a lot of you might be are gonna be alright. I'm gonna stop it right over here, because soon enough the eye is gonna drive into the bushes and we won't be able to see this tank in all of its glory. Either way, the UDES 1516, even though that I can assure you that a lot of you probably think that this tank looks disgusting, in my opinion it looks absolutely beautiful. The sleek curves, this dangly thingy at the back of it, I just love the look of this tank. Don't get me wrong, I know a lot of you are gonna disagree with me on this, but I just love this tank. Anyway, the UDES 1516 is a tank that featured the hydro-pneumatic suspension system, which means that similarly to the S tanks, this tank is capable of lifting its rear part or frontal part upwards in order to give itself more gun depression or more gun elevation. Thanks to this tank has entire 13 degrees of gun depression, the by far best gun depression at tier 10, unless we are obviously counting in tanks such as the S tanks, which obviously have a bit more gun depression, if I'm correct 20 degrees with the siege mode active, but I might be incorrect on this. Another advantage of the fact that this tank actually has the hydro-pneumatic system, but not the S tank version of the hydro-pneumatic system, is the fact that it actually doesn't have the siege mode. This thing works fully automatically, or almost fully automatically, and you will actually lift the back side of your tank if you want to depress your gun by just simply pointing downwards. I do not know how this tank actually works, I might be mistaken on this. All I know is that this tank actually doesn't have a siege mode, which means that it doesn't have like bonus DPM or anything like that. It actually wouldn't even need that bonus DPM because it already has one of the highest DPMs in the entire game, clocking at 2,800 per minute. This tank is by far one of the best DPMs in the entire game. It has also 440 alpha damage on its standard rounds. It also has the heat rounds, which have a bit more penetration. I do have a feeling like the heat round penetration is actually substandard. I might be incorrect on that though. I do have a feeling like there are plenty of tanks with like 340, 330, so the heat round penetration is actually not that great, but neither is the standard round penetration. So this tank is definitely not one of those tanks that you want to pick if you're just going to spam gold throughout the entire game. I can assure you of that. Seriously. And since I mentioned gold spammers, I gotta mention one thing, and that is that I've actually seen just 2 replays of this tank as of now. And in one of those replays, I've seen a guy just load in full heat ammunition, and I immediately was like, you know what? Fuck you. And just hold F4 and decide to watch a couple of replays. After about 20 minutes now, I've been searching for decent replays for like 3 or 4 hours. This replay ended up actually being the best replay. Even though that we are already 4 minutes in and our hero, Aya, wasn't able to pick up 1000 damage yet. Yeah, Aya wasn't able to deal more than 1000 damage within 5 minutes of this battle, which I should point out is a grand battle, which means that this place is just completely covered in enemies, and yet Aya wasn't able to kill anyone or even deal damage to anyone. She wasn't even able to deal her hit points and damage, so why am I showing you this replay? Oh, you just wait, This is gonna get much more action-packed later on. Most of Aya's team is actually camping here around her, and most of them are getting hit, with the only exception being the shit barn over here on the left, which is called a shit barn in despite of the fact that it's not really all that shit. Here we can, by the way, here we can see the hydro-pneumatic suspension system in action. Aya is probably just trying it out for a moment there. It actually looks pretty nice. Here is gonna be some first decent amount of damage dealt. Well, I just said that as Aya was able to deal only 360 damage. A low rolling quite terrible as second shell. Yet another low roll at only 405 damage. Will we be able to see a decent roll? Well, probably not, because the TVPT 5051 doesn't have enough hit points. So yeah, either way. There is an enemy WZ, you're gonna be able to get a decent juicy sideshot, and yet another low roll. What an unlucky guy, or what a lucky guy. Well, this one was actually closer to being the standard damage of this tank, but it's still a low roll. Can we get a single high roll? We actually did from the beginning of the game, but so far we're pretty much hitting constant low rolls. It's actually kind of saddening to watch, in my opinion. Anyway, we are barely 6 minutes in, and your team has already lost 63% of its hit points. 73% actually. I'm just completely and utterly terrible at maths. Basic third graders maths. Amazing. Oh, there we go. Finally, we found ourselves a first high roll. Will we be able to get a second shell into the Super Conqueror over there? Yes, we will. And there we go. Our luck is here yet again, and we are able to consistently low high rolls. Here we can see the armor of this tank taking beating, not really taking beating because it didn't take any damage. By the way, I should mention that this tank actually doesn't have all that much armor. If I'm correct, it has an amazing turret. Like, the turret frontally has 100 armor and sloped at such an incredible degree that you're gonna auto ricochet anything frontally. The whole armor though is pretty much free penetration from any side. It has only 50 armor. A large portion of guns in this game can actually penetrate it. I'm not gonna say overmatch it, because yeah, 50 armor is gonna be able to block majority of the shells in this game, but it is gonna be penetrated by virtually anything, because you won't really be able to slope it at a decent enough degree to make it actually block anything. The side armor is only 30mm thick. If I'm correct, it actually has some space armor, but I don't know how thick is that. All I know is that the basic armor has got only 30mm of armor, so yeah, that's not really all that heavily armored. This tank truly isn't the one that you want to go with if you want to tank a lot of shells. It really doesn't really stand up all that well against other tanks. Either way, here right now we can see I taking on two enemies, the UDES 1516 and the UDES 1516. As we might see, a lot of people are playing on a test server. It's after all a new tank, which means that everybody's gotta play it, and this UDES 1516 grew a pair and decided to engage in a head-on combat, but he probably forgot that he does have an S button on his tank and just scooted all the way around Aya without really being able to deal any damage. And there we go, first shell and immediate high roll. What a lucky guy. Aya has been struggling with those high rolls throughout pretty much the entire game, and this guy just scoots in and is able to deal over 500 damage. Oh man, either way, there we go, another UDES 1516 just appearing from behind the crest of that hill in front, and he immediately took a shot into his frontal armor. But Aya is not done yet. She's gonna finish the job off, but we're gonna give her a couple of seconds because, yeah, she kinda missed the job. Missed that shot. There we go. A second shot will be able to finish off the second kill of this game. You have dealt over 7,000 damage, nearly 7,500 damage, which is easily over 3 times your health, nearly 4 times your health, and you got only 2 kills. It seems like your teammates are stealing those kills. Ah, they are stealing your precious. Ah, you gotta take them back. Either way, your team is kinda on the back foot right now with only 6 players remaining, whereas the enemy team is actually at 8 players and over double the hit points. Well, oh, this doesn't really look all that well, not to mention the fact that you are kinda pushed into your base, because 2 of your players are actually in the artilleries, whereas the enemies have only 1 single artillery remaining, which I should point out is actually sitting confidently at 4 kills. Good job over there, GW. Seriously, it's not all that common that you see an artillery with this many kills. Most of the time the artilleries do not really know how to play. Like, I'm not saying that the artillery is somewhat difficult to play class, but it takes quite a lot of patience to play it correctly. And most people do not know it, and for some reason they tend to play like a heavy tank, thinking that, you know, they are going to be able to hit anything from anywhere. Anyway, right now the AI is trying to ambush the enemy, hoping for them to come into her shooting range. Shooting scope, how's it called? Ah, that doesn't matter. Ah yeah, it still has got to wait for a couple more minutes until the enemies will roll in, but there are 2 enemies spotted on the map, and she's gotta move her ass, because otherwise she's gonna get caught here by the enemy team. From a side, obviously, she's gonna be flanked. So she's retreating to the base to help out her artillery, which is right now gonna be, or soon enough gonna be engaged by the enemy heavy tanks. One of your artilleries has actually died, and I didn't even notice it. Oh man, I do have a feeling like that E100 actually killed it, but I might be mistaken on that. Either way, you're back at your base, and I'm losing my voice because I'm not used to talking this much. Seriously, I haven't talked this much in 3 weeks. Give me a break. Really. There's the enemy E100. Are we gonna be able to kill it? Right now we are behind the wall. You decide to take a blind shot. You won't be able to hit it because your UDES 1516 will be able to finish it off. There's the enemy Forge B. Will you be able to hit it? Yes, you will. And you actually high rolled it, but you weren't able to deal enough damage. You wouldn't even be able to deal enough damage to finish it off. So yeah. Either way, you were able to make it a one shot for your artillery. So soon enough, we should be able to see the juicy splash damage taken down. You decided to take a swing at the enemy object 268, but that was a wrong choice because that tank has got a shitload of armor. Really, those Russian TDs nowadays do have way too much armor. You probably won't be able to pen it even with your premium rounds frontally. Right now we are hoping for your UDES 1516 to actually spot it so we can take a shot at juicy side armor, whereas while one of the enemy tanks is actually capping your cap circle. They are not taking any chances. They want to finish this game early enough. You know, that is, by the way, one of the biggest problems I found with this map and overall like the grand battles. The games in many cases actually end up with a draw because neither one of the teams is actually able to push far enough into the cap circle to actually cap it, or to eliminate all of the enemy players within that 15-minute mark. So it usually ends up in just like a draw between the players. Either way, here is the enemy FB, simply said the shit bar. You decided to take a shot at it, and you were actually spotted. I got no idea how you were spotted over there because you were actually double bushing. I do have a feeling like a bit of the backside of your tank was actually seen over there, so yeah, they were actually able to spot you. That was a terrific low roll. By the way, I should point out one thing, and that is that for some reason you aren't using high explosives over here, which is probably the reason why I missed that shot. You filthy casual. Come on, man. You see a shit barn, you see it aiming directly at you, you see how it missed the shot, maybe shot at somebody else, you got a couple of free shots, you know, you can just load in a couple of high explosives, it probably won't hurt you, especially if 3 of the enemy tanks are pretty heavily armored tanks. Well, the Forge B isn't exactly a heavily armored tank, but it does have quite a lot of armor frontal, and you most definitely won't be able to penetrate it with high explosives. you pretty much can only kill 2 enemy tanks at this point. So yeah, you better make your shots count because you got only 5 shells remaining. 1 for each enemy tank. Great job there. Also, there's the enemy object 268, 1 shot into him, yet another low roll. Oh, would you look at that, how lucky player is Daya. There we go, another shot into him, and you were able to finish him off with a 3 damage high roll. Thankfully, you're lucky when you're supposed to be. Alright, you got only 3 shells remaining, whereas the enemy team is almost done capping. Actually, you got only 26 seconds remaining because there are 2 enemy tanks in the cap circle, which means that there's still 1 TD hunting your team, and you got no idea where he is. Well, I kind of jinxed it because there he is. There he is, and there's a shit bar aiming directly at you, but your side... not slope armor, how is it called? Space armor was able to eat the shell. Second high explosive into his turret, but that is pretty much GG because the enemy team will be able to cap the cap circle. A loss, but still a G freaking G. And in the post-game stats, we may see what a truly amazing game this was, as the HK reporter Aya was capable of getting herself 4 medals and 2nd class. Yeah, that's kinda saddening, but seriously, you were able to deal over 11,000 damage, but get only 3 kills. That's kinda saddening. Seriously, you were carrying the living shit out of your team, yet you weren't paid well enough. Seriously, that is really saddening results. Only 4 medals, I would expect a lot more. Like, really, a ton more. You weren't even spamming those premium rounds like crazy. You actually made a couple of credits, mostly thanks to the fact that you actually had a premium, but... well, you weren't just spamming premium rounds. Sure as hell you loaded in more premium rounds than you did load in standard rounds, which is still kinda sad, so, because, you know, you were kinda more on the gold spammy sort of side, but you definitely weren't spamming premium rounds, I can assure you of that. At least you weren't as bad on it as a lot of other people, because nowadays it's incredibly difficult to find a replay of a person that is not spamming premium rounds. Either way, if it comes to everything that you have done throughout this battle, I have to once again highlight the fact that you dealt over 11,000 damage, showing just how powerful this tank is. You were also capable of blocking 2,600 damage and making my jaw hurt because I'm commentating for nearly 20 minutes straight. So, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna stop it right before the moment my jaw will completely fall apart. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.